Hello, neighborinos. This is the first episode in this series that I've concocted. Essentially, I'm just gonna go through a video and talk about the different edits that I have observed, that you can see, and just pontificate about why they may have decided to use that edit. You know, what was their intention? What emotion were they trying to get out of us? What story are they trying to tell there? What narrative are they trying to create? Is that foreshadowing some particular event? Because there must be some purpose behind these different edits, every single one of them, because it's somebody's profession. These clips don't just come together randomly. They pay somebody specifically to sit in the back and make this their job. So surely they're putting in that time and effort to help convey that message or tell a story. And I think this is especially true in the TV series that we're going to review here, because this is actually a reality show. So it is a situation where I think the role of the editor becomes even more important, given that it's not like a film or a regular TV series where particular scenes are shot and then they are edited in-house or out of house afterwards. A reality TV show is, for the most part, just showcasing and following different people interacting with each other, and then you have hours of this footage and you've got to find a way to narrow that down to a compelling show of like 45 minutes, 25 minutes. And that is where the role of the editor is so important in compiling those clips together in a way that gets out the narrative as intended by the producers and everybody else involved in making that production. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. The show that I'm reviewing is Survivor. This is the first season, Borneo, the one where it all began, where it all started. And yeah, this was my first time watching it, and yeah, definitely lots to learn and take in when it comes to the different editing. Also, just to give you a bit of info about me, myself, and my background, I will have no shame in admitting that I am somewhat of a novice editor. I'm not a beginner, but I'm still very far from an expert, and I am learning something new every day from it. And this is also part of that journey. I hope that this in some way can help you, and in turn, help you to get closer to creating what it is that you want to create. I do find that when it comes to video editing, when you look for different tutorials and how-to videos on YouTube, they're specifically that how-to. So they might tell you, oh, here is this trick if you want to do this particular effect. If you want to do a sharp close-up or you want to use the blur feature, here is how you do it. And it seems like a lot of the tutorials are approached from a technical standpoint, but I've struggled to find material talking about why different edits may be used and the intention behind those and how they interplay with other clips and sounds and different effects. And I think that is also very important when it comes to video editing, is a balance of technicality and then also theory and understanding of why you want to piece these different forms of media in your music, your videos, your sound effects, your text, why you're piecing them in the way that you're doing it, and what type of outcome do you intend to get from that. So yeah, let's begin. I've rambled on for long enough. So yeah, when we look at this edit, I just found it interesting because if you look at the opening of the show with the first episode in general, you find that it's very fast paced. Like the opening 2 or 3 minutes or so, you're getting cuts from one scene to the next at least every 3 seconds, in some cases even 2 seconds, and it's all sharp And I think that's done with the intention of creating anticipation, hyping the viewer up to get ready for this TV series, because it's the first episode, it's the first 2 minutes, and it is the beginning of what is set to be this wild journey in terms of you having these contestants stranded in the middle of nowhere, and they're gonna fight it out with each other to determine who's the survivor. So I did first of all just immediately pick up on the fast-paced editing and how that's intended to create a sense of urgency. How it's intended to highlight the sense of urgency coming from the contestants and creating anticipation in the viewer about the journey they're about to embark on. Looking at the specific edit that we have here, where you've got shots of the different rafts from right to left, and how they cut from one raft to the other, right to left, with the sounds. Again, just a neat trick, to highlight the actions that are going on. They could have just done it with one raft and it could have been the story told, but they put the camera on both of the rafts, and it's just a simple edit of showing the objects in action. Also, another simple trick where you've got a shot of the map, and alongside that map you have the sound effects in the background. So it just helps to create an atmosphere. It helps to transform that static photo into something more. Let's get them boxes aboard. It'll be a lot easier. That's dead weight you got. Yeah, I like this part, and lol at Rudy. I think he's somebody who grows on you. He somewhat grew on me. Always found him to be a bit of an a-hole, but there was no pretense surrounding him. I think he's just in this situation where it's like, I paid my dues, I'm a Navy SEAL, I fought in the war, I'm 72 years, I've got my kids, I've got my wife, I've got my house or mortgage paid off. I don't have Jack S to prove to anybody else, and he definitely wore that on his shoulders with pride. But nonetheless, this is something that you see happening a lot with reality shows. Reality TV is the like person-centered storytelling. Throughout that episode, you're going to have the focus on different individuals and kind of exploring their character and how they are. And this is done by just using different interviews, also having their audio played over different scenes of them at work, highlighted perhaps the way they're operating or the point that they're making in general. Like you see here, it's a case of person-centered storytelling. At least that's what I get from it.
Yelling at everybody, let's lose the box. How to lose now? He may be 72 years older than next Navy SEAL, but that doesn't mean that this is his world.
Yep. And again, expanding on that, you have in some cases interviews of other people talking about said person, in this case Rudy, and again it's just highlighting this focus on him. This is his time to shine. This is where we are getting more info and details about him as a character. And you also see how they may interview other people talking about him to perhaps give you an indicator as to how he may interact with the other characters within this show. What him and his personality and how that may affect the relationship dynamics of that overall space among the others. And of course here you see the use of music, like the use of the kind of like drums and other percussion based instruments to just indicate that activity is abound. And that is what you see with the footage in terms of they've just landed on this island and they're now trying to figure themselves out and get things, try to start something and build things. And you have the use of those percussion based instruments in like the drum, I think like a type of shaker type of instrument. I can't remember the name right now, but it's just showed activity, get moving, and that is what you see in these clips. Here's just a simple shot that you see, in lots of shows and video games and video footage of all kinds, where you have somebody leaving when they're making an exit, typically a permanent exit of sorts. You'll usually see them with a shot of their back turned, and it's usually done in a way where they're walking into the darkness to sort of symbolize their end. And this is what you see here. That was just another like simple observation that I picked up on. I'll play that again because it was very quick. But yeah, you have this case where there was an object, and I think because of it was the opening episode and the first time they were at the tribal council, there was a shot of the money, of the $1 million. And I think it was like somewhere there, the shot of the money, and then it pans away to a shot of another person looking at that object. So again, it's just a nice little effect in terms of, you have a shot at the object and then you pan away to another shot of the individual looking at that specific object. Then we have here, this is a cool shot. I really like this. Simple. And again, this is something where from a technical standpoint, it's quite easy and simple to execute, but the skill comes in knowing when to implement and execute this type of edit. So this is quite nice here where you've got like the close-up shots, but it starts off as, a kind of slow pan to different people and then ends with a close-up shot, and it gives that feeling like the individuals are being watched, like they're being watched and observed by somebody, just when you look at the way the camera is moving. And in that way, it kind of, again, it's just another way of building up anticipation. Like, somebody is watching these contestants and they're watching, and what are they planning for? Why are they being surveyed? Again, it's just creating a sense of anticipation to some kind of climax, like what's about to happen. And maybe the type of climax could be like, I get the vibe of the calm before the storm. So all of these people are there being watched, at least in terms of the story the camera is telling, and the actions they're doing is just them kind of relaxing, at ease. In this case, it's Rich, and it's like kind of saying, they're relaxed right now, but they don't know what's about to hit them. It's like they've being watched and they're unaware of it, and it's like pounce. And so that's the feeling I get, like it's the calm before the storm, and there's just this kind of cunning and paced observation as seen through the camera, the eyes of the camera. You can see it just builds on that. Then you have this shot, and as you can see, as he's running, the camera moves and shows different parts of his body. So it starts off with him head on, then it goes to his lower body, and then there's the final shot which ends shooting from behind his back. Just a way of signifying progression, I suppose, but in a way that I guess keeps the viewer tuned in and anticipating. A lot of these shots and the way they're done just seems to be building towards anticipation and creating expectation about what is going to happen next. And that's what you see here, where they could have just filmed him running in one shot for that whole 3 or 4 seconds, but instead they just change the positioning each time to take you on a ride in relation to it. So yeah, way of signifying progression. On a side note, the way that Rich runs here, like, I think also the type of music used as well, like it's a type of tropical, upbeat, jubilant sort of sounds. It's creating a foreshadow of sorts in terms of the scenes or the events that are going to follow this. Maybe excitable and possibly joyful and just upbeat. Right, so here in this short scene, for the first part of it, so it's split into 2 parts. One part is the pursuit, and then the second part is the find, the catch. And in the first part, when he's searching and snorkeling for fish, you get like the use of the ticking music. The ticking effects are there to kind of represent kind of like the passage of time, but a focused, concentrated passage of time. And I think that connects and links with the fact that this task is something that is you need a lot of focus, and it can also be very long. It could be long and quite boring in its nature, depending on what your luck is like. And you've got this ticking music, this kind of slightly jarring, repetitive ticking music that is used to complement that in relation to the passage of time, the repetitiveness, the tediousness that can come with fishing in all different forms. And then, of course, the find happens where he finally catches the fish, and you get like a change in the tempo of music. It becomes a lot more louder, a lot more kind of high tempo, joyful. It's related to success and accomplishment, as has been the case because he's finally found fish. Right, then you have here, and you see that these are like head-on shots. So if we look at like one of the previous examples where we were talking about the contestant who was leaving and how they shot her with her back turned, walking into the darkness to symbolize an exit, here you kind of have something of the opposite example of that, where you have these people shot from the front, walking head on, but at the same time go into, a new place. It's a journey of sorts, but then perhaps it's used to like foreshadow an encountering with the unknown. That's the impression I got of this, because the camera's pointing at them head on, but then you cannot see it from the first person point of view. So you only see them walking and moving around, but you don't see things from their perspective. You don't know where they're walking to. So I think it was shot in this way and then included in the edit to kind of give that indicator to kind of show they're on this journey, embarking on the unknown, and keep on watching to find out what comes of it.
It's gotta go, so it's just the way it goes.
And again, the use of the shots of like lightning striking and the thunder in the background just sort of underlines this point in terms of it's an encountering of the unknown. Perhaps there's is going to be a tense situation, and yeah, just a lot of uncertainty. So yeah, this is yeah, a great scene. I think it's something that, you know, we've all picked up and seen. It's been used countless times in so many different films and TV shows where, you know, you have quick change in shots from one activity to another, which is used to build up to some kind of construction or deconstruction of something. In this case, it's the deconstruction, because I think this is the episode when the Pagong tribe are moving from their tribe. Or wait, no. It's the one where the Pagong tribe are moving from one part of the island to another. I think they're moving away from the beach into the woods. So they're now taking apart the shelter that they had made on the beach. So these, you just show the different shots, quick shots showing like each part of the process in terms of like the removing of the roof and the dismantling of the wood and, you know, untangling the nets. Just showing all of those quick shots to build up to highlight the deconstruction taking place, and until they eventually completely get rid of it and move on. So yes, whenever you're seeing shots of somebody building something or deconstructing something, it's usually done in that way of quick shots showing each stage of the process, and again building up anticipation, creating a sense of accomplishment and progress, and building up towards something more importantly, which again grips in the viewer in the sense of, it's like, oh, what are you building up towards? I want to see. Again, note the use of the music, and again it's that type of a ticking sound, but this time it's a bit more fast paced. And yeah, I just got the vibe that it was being used to kind of signify a face-off of sorts, especially as you hear it still lightly played in the background as the contestants are talking with each other. So like, yeah, you can still hear that in the background. And the impression I got from that was like a build up to a face-off, some sort of tension between others within a group. Another interpretation you could have of it is that it's music used to signify, like, you know, planning at work for a grand task. There is that impression that I also get, but for me, my kind of first instinct was a face-off, something intense. And then they follow up that shot with an interview with this other contestant who's talking about the conflict of ideas. So yeah, that was my initial instinct when I looked at the scene and I looked at how the music was being used. But yeah, you can also get the vibe that it's being used to foreshadow and kind of indicate a big planning process. Maybe it's a combination of both, and is a combination of both conflict intensity and then the planning to a grand task with the emphasis on conflict and intensity. There could be that. Yeah, this is a classic type of cut where you've got head-on shots of both of the groups indicating a face-off, some type of competition. You've got the slow motion, you know, like it's laying the groundwork for some grand battle. You know, the usual cut.
Yes.
So here we've got these shots of multiple individuals. They're kind of fading away into each other. We've got this slow pacing music that's being played in the background, and all of the different shots show them in deep thought and contemplation. And yeah, I feel like it's being used to highlight perhaps the internal challenge, the struggle that they're going through within themselves in respect to trying to figure something out, get a grip on what their next move is going to be. And I think specifically in this case, you know, who they're going to vote out in the tribal council. I also feel like it was highlighting the internal challenge that each of them may have been experiencing, having just lost that task. Like, oh, you know, looking back on all of the mistakes they made or what they could have done better, like that reflection. Yeah, so there's also like the combination of contemplation and reflection. Contemplation of like, who am I gonna have to vote for? And then the reflection of the task that they just lost. Ooh, I love this cut, this scene here in particular. Yep, wow, there's just something I really like about that scene. So, yep, you just have, I think it's Greg, talking about the nature of the beast that comes with this type of game in relation to Survivor and the process of voting people off of your tribe whenever you lose a task. And, you know, the kind of ruthlessness that may come with it, where, you know, you've been spending all of this time working with these people and building a tribe of your own, and then boop, out of nowhere you need to vote someone off, you know, in what could be seen as like an equivalent to banishing away one of the members, or, you know, ostracizing them to a certain degree. And yeah, it's just, again, using those quick shots of all the different people in relation to what he's talking about to create that sort of tension, anticipation, to get your pulses running. And also, it's like a very frequent change of scenes, very quick change in scenes, almost kind of like giving you the impression of like you're getting this quick, somewhat uncontrolled build up, and to the point of like some kind of destruction. Sooner or later, we need to get rid of each other so that we can have one winner who gets the $1 million. And these fast changing scenes represent the dominoes of, you know, each contestant and how they're all eventually going to be picked off. And then there's going to be the last person standing. Nice scene. Yep. Then we get another shot. This is similar to one of the ones we spoke about before, where it's kind of like it creates the feeling of the contestants being watched. It's also just a nice effect. This one is slightly different because at the beginning the shot is slightly blurred, and as it pans slowly to the right, the blur begins to reduce. And I guess it can be a good effect and a good way of maybe symbolizing a beginning, or a change in like the story, or like a different chapter. That's the feeling I get from it, where it's like it's all blurred, kind of like there's the unknown and then you unveil it, so it's like something new and different. So yeah, starting with a shot that's blurred, and then as you pan to the right to a particular person or a particular scene that you want to highlight, you then reduce that blur, and it's kind of like maybe a good way of kind of putting a break in a story, or in a break in between different scenes to move on from one part of the show to another part of the show. So yeah, that's a little funny scene, and this is another example where it just comes to the power of editing. Like, all of that is in the way it's been crafted, that scene, which just gives it so much character. Yeah, the editing has helped give the scene a character and just giving it life. So, it starts off with the close-up on Joel's face, the person who's throwing the makeshift javelin. So that's the close-up on his face, kind of showing that there's going to be a focus on him, and it's building up to something big. And you have this music playing where it's like, again, like lots of percussion, somewhat high tempo, booming loud, and it's like, whoa, what's going to happen? This is like, the big task, the big event. And then, it goes to him throwing it, and as he throws it, the music gradually reduces in volume and sort of slows down. And then when he misses the shot, you just have that, like, it's just, yeah, that sound effect is just like the anti-climax. Yeah, because it's abrupt. It just comes in out of nowhere, and it's the anti-climax. You are building up to this big thing, this big moment where you would hope that he hits it on the mark, and it doesn't happen. So it was all that build up, and it's like, oh, it didn't happen. This was not what we expected. This is a come down, and you hear that in, that music, that whoa. And then just a sort of complete change of music, where before it was so kind of like intense and dramatic, and use of percussion, to just like a kind of somewhat muted, slow, dreary music afterwards. And then to top it off, you hear, I think it was Jervis who just made that that was like, the editors didn't even need to like put that one in. But again, that whole scene is just all the editors, and it gets a laugh out of you. Yeah, it evokes something from you just because of the way it was done. So yeah, throwing off the javelin, this big build up, then there's an anti-climax. It was a build up to a climax, and it just didn't drop. It was underwhelming. Yes. Again, this is similar to one of the previous shots, where you get shots of the different group of contestants. So it's another competition, another face-off, another duel between these two groups. And then you also get shots of the different articles that will be of some relevance in this task, in this game, like the melons and the pineapples. I guess these are the articles that they have to hit with their javelin. And by showing the face-off and then showing the actual articles and remnants of the task, that they are going to compete in. Again, it's just showing grand face-off for grand tasks. This is what you have before you, and that is seen with the way it's shot, and all of those articles are put in there. So it's like, yep, grand face-off with the different contestants, and then the shots of the different objects used in the game to build up to the anticipation and happenings of the task itself. I just think this is just a cool edit where you have a still object, you know, whether it's just an inanimate object or some type of animal or person. They're still, but then they're shot against a moving background. It just looks cool. Just a nice, neat trick to, you know, keep the person's eyes occupied. Another thing to note is these types of shots. So these types of shots where they kind of shoot out into the distance. You know, these shots that are kind of like out into the distance, focus more on the fauna and the general settings of the place, and are typically set against like kind of drifting, like a punch, like a kind of a quick punch of music, a quick dab of music or sound effects is just a handy way of kind of saying new chapter. That's the impression I got from it, where you see these, and it happens quite often throughout this TV series Survivor, where whenever it's changing from one topic or issue to another, they will quite often use these far away shots and then play these kind of quick doses of music to show you like changing chapter, we're moving on. And at times the sound effects and the music used can be also done to like foreshadow, to kind of give you an idea of the sort of emotion and intensity that may come with the chapter that follows. But it's just a simple trick, but a good way to keep the viewer's attention, because you know you're gonna have a person sitting there watching this. It might be a 30-40 minute long episode, and if you just slot these little bits between different parts of the video, it just helps re-establish the scene. Well, it helps re-establish the show by like just pulling the person back in, ensuring that they are tuned in and getting ready for what's about to happen next. I kind of see these cutaway scenes as kind of like a light shaking of a person. It's like if you're watching a show or a movie with somebody, but you've watched the movie already, and there's a part of the movie that you're both watching where something crazy or something really cool is about to happen, and you know it, but the person watching you doesn't know it, and they're not really kind of like in tune or paying attention. And you might just do like a light shake, or you might just tap to go, hey, you need to be watching this. And something crazy or something really sad or something really stupid is about to happen. And this is kind of like the video editor's way of doing that, by, you know, having these far away shots and then using particular sound effects to try to, you know, give you a little peek into what follows. Again, use of that ticking music, for me, it just gave me the impression that it was a build up to another big task. Something big is to follow from this. So yeah, this is the classic shot when it comes to reality TV. Is yeah, the close up on the face during some kind of emotional moment. It always kind of grinds my gears a bit, because I can imagine the person who's actually experiencing that emotional moment, you know, the last thing you want is like this person with their camera just like boom right up in your face, like, oh, you know, can you just please continue crying a bit so I can capture this? You're like, yo, I'm having an emotional moment, give me some space. But hey, this is what they signed up for. But yeah, this is the classic, you know, pan away to the side of the face, you know, while that person is like usually in distress. And yeah, you know, I guess the close up is just being used to try to immerse you in that moment, to make you feel a part of it, like you're right there next to them and looking at them as they're going through this, you know, so to help try and give you a better understanding and feeling of what that person is going through in that moment in time, to create more of a connection. The closer you are to something, you're more likely to feel a connection to it compared to things that are distant. You know, the fact that we use the word distance to talk about like a loss of connection, you know, highlights that even more. So yeah, the typical close up on face emotional moment that's used to try to create a bond between you and the other person, and have you understand, empathize with what they're feeling at that moment in time. Let me know what other, if you have any other TV series or films that you would recommend and that you would like me to review and go through. Please also drop those in the comment section, because I am looking for other material to pass through so I can just pick up as many editing tricks as I can. Thanks again.